I was the guy who was laying in the casket. I know there were pictures of that. Almost everybody who was bringing somebody in was carrying me in the casket. And of course, that was the funny thing. I was, even then, the biggest person is like, what the heck were we thinking? Putting Seemann in the casket.
Was it a real casket?
It was. I mean, it wasn't a big, heavy one, but it was one that was designed for like transporting.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate and lifestyle podcast that is totally unique and unconventional. I'm Eric, she's Donna, we're the hosts and Real Siblings, and we are here to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain with you, our listeners. Topics always vary. We endeavor to provide our listeners with insights into the real estate industry that they may not otherwise be aware of, better equipping them for their next transaction. Once again, welcome. Thanks for joining us on this latest episode. Donna, I see a picture of a turkey.
Yeah,
What
and
are
it's
we
not
talking
me.
about today?
So y'all, I had to do Thanksgiving because we're talking about homecoming, and then we're not ready to record the next one yet. So here you go. Here's your Thanksgiving image, and we have to remind ourselves to be thankful. I'm leaning over. If you're listening to this, you don't even care that I'm leaning over. But part of what's happening today is that I was complaining to Eric about acronyms, abbreviations. We use a lot of them in real estate, but they're everywhere, right? And one of the things that I talk about with my book that we've shared on here is the fact that it's ever evolving, our language and the abbreviations. And so I saw a post online and it said FOMO HOCO, FOMO HOCO. I had no idea what that meant. And then I started seeing signs of kids asking their dates. Would you go to HOCO with me? So just in case somebody is more oblivious than I at this point, fear of missing out on homecoming. So HOCO is homecoming. For those of us who are older,
That is textees, as I may call it.
Textees. You're right.
Textees.
You're right. It's easier to do that than to write homecoming. We all know that if you're texting each other. But some of us are old school and we use a keyboard and a what would have been a typewriter. It's not really a typewriter. But I know how to spell it. So Eric,
find the center of the page and backspace so you can center your words up.
Exactly. So Eric's image is entirely different than my Thanksgiving turkey table. And what's behind you, Eric?
Ta-da! All right, those are on the shelf, ready to purchase and then be decorated homecoming mums. In Texas, as you can imagine from the picture behind me, homecoming mums are a big deal, big business. Size is important. My sister can see. If you're watching video, you can see. If not, try to explain. It's a typical retail display that you might find in a hobby shop someplace. And there are two tiers of mums. The mum itself is an artificial flower in this case.
Oh, I was going to ask. I figured they had to be.
You can get real mums.
Yeah.
But these are artificial being on the shelf here. Variety of colors to go with whatever your school colors are. The top shelf, the ribbons are about 24 inches long. The bottom shelf is 30. I've seen them as long as 42 to 48 inches so that the girls are wearing the mums on their shoulder and it's dragging the ground. When I say it's adorned, it's got to be decorated. It's going to have...
Okay, wait. So they're all white. And what are they, 5 or 6 inches across, do you think? Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a back on it, too, that highlights the color. So the flower itself is 6 or 7 inches. And then there's that kind of colored background that are the dominant school colors.
Okay, so they come in and these are going to be the school colors for all of San Antonio or part of this?
Yes. And in this case, this was actually up the road in Kerrville where there's very much fewer high schools, but because this is a kind of a main shopping area, multiple neighborhoods and different high schools are coming to this craft store in order to get the supplies to make mums. This is a side business. I told you, and we were talking about this, there are people who start custom making these as soon as school starts and make homecoming mums available for sale. And you can spend $120, $150 on a mum to wear to school on homecoming weekend. So basically the Friday before the homecoming game.
Okay, so is this going to be like a Hobby Lobby or would it be a hardware store? Could it be a local?
Be. This is actually a surviving independent craft store.
Oh, okay.
That I went into and
nice.
Picked up a couple of things for Mrs. Claus for during the season that I did not go in there for, but I had some time and it's like, okay, I need to look for this. Okay. And and I saw the pictures. It's like, this is perfect. It'll make a great background.
When you say they decorate them, like to me, I look at that and I see the ribbons already. So do they spray the flower with things? Do they attach?
They will spray the flowers. It's a white flower. So there are some folks who get the spray-on dye that you would use for your hair or your beard, and you highlight it with the 2 colors because normally a school is not just a single color. It's 2 colors, sometimes 3. So that'll be painted. And then whatever the activities the student are engaged in. So there's little emblems, little plastic stickers that you can hot glue on or pin on or do something that are like for choir, for band, for orchestra, for dance team, for track, for football, for basketball, whatever, volleyball, whatever those are. And they decorate the mums, and all down those ribbons, they'll have those things on there. Some of the ones you can buy now play music. So you can.
Okay, more questions, brother, because I'm just staring at these. So these are big. They pin them on? They like pin them on a dress or a shirt?
No, this isn't for dress. They don't wear these to the dance per se. This is for the homecoming pep rally, day before the big football game, for the homecoming game. It's a whole part of the week that leads up to.
But they don't hold them. Homecoming. They're still attaching.
No, they're pinned on. Some of them actually will have like a beauty queen kind of strap.
Okay.
One of those ribbons that goes over a shoulder so it can be on the shoulder, and that has additional color to it, and then that gets adorned and decorated too.
So when I was in school, the guy might have gotten a boutonniere and the girl got a little wrist thing. See, we were trying to remember, y'all.
I went to or a corsage, right?
Yeah, I went to 1 or 2 dances. I went to prom my senior year with somebody I was on student council with, that was just friends. I don't remember.
Hey, we don't need any qualifiers here. You went to the dance.
No, I know, but there was not a mum that was like a foot long and that somebody spent $150 on. So anyway, it's an interesting technique. And for those of you that listen in other parts of the country, I would love to know, especially back in Ohio. I looked at the pictures that I've seen and I haven't seen anything like this. So I wonder if this is Southern or Texas, or did you do any research? Eric, you're the research guru.
Started over 50 years ago.
Wow.
And part of it, I think, is growing season, because then you could get fresh flowers. They weren't making them artificial.
Yeah.
And I forget, I say that it started over 50, and since I'm 59 now, it goes back longer than that. Late 30s, early 40s is when this kind of started as a tradition. And just like everything, it has to be bigger, better, bolder, new and improved every single year. And every single one of those little adornments are going to be color coded too. So Fremont Ross, purple and white.
Yeah.
You're going to have a word that says band, and it's going to be, you want it to catch the light, so probably silver with purple on it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have what instrument you play, and that's going to be colored. Wow. And so for every school, you get all of these things in different colors. So if the dominant color, like St. Joe, was red, you're going to have the same set of all the plastic stuff with reds, with yellows, with blues, with golds, with whatever. It is a big, big deal. People will work on them and decorate them for weeks.
Well,
if they're
and you
not
guys,
using the real mom.
just so you know that those of you that are listening and not watching, Eric is also wearing a Little Giants hat. I don't know where you got that. And do you still have the football laying around?
Of course I do. Yes, I do. So
Yes.
these go back to those days at Ross. This
Yeah.
was senior year, one of the many fundraisers we did. The football is a soft plush football that I
Yeah.
have saved for years.
Yeah.
And the hat, tipping the head down,
Oh, like a little giant on the top.
got the little giant, but this is early 80s. These little paper painter hats
Yeah.
were
Cute.
kind of a trend and kind of a thing. And yes, I still have mine.
Not
I
to
couldn't
mention your
find my
tie.
pennant though. I've got a Fremont Ross pennant, and I don't know. When we repainted the house last year, it got taken down, and I don't know where we ended up sticking it. So I
Eric
gotta figure that part out.
Eric saves things in case anyone might not know it. So, okay, so you and I talked a little bit about like what did homecoming mean to me. To be honest, I did like zero research on this whole thing. And this morning we were like, we're going to talk about homecoming. Okay, reminder. So for me, I think about it related to the band and that we would have an alumni band. I think too, we were looking for backdrops. I think my senior year, I'm in a black and white photo. I have to find that directing the alma mater in the rain at homecoming. Pretty sure because wearing the rain jacket and stuff like that on the little stand.
Right, and that was the black uniform with tails that had the big vest that came over top of.
Right.
And you were,
and then we had our
I think I
raincoats.
remember seeing that picture at some point.
Yeah.
Not in my
Yeah.
yearbook, of course, but
So we would have been alma mater, hail to whatever those words were.
yes.
So for me, it was as much about the dance as it was more about the music than about the dance. And also, did you like where the tradition of a king and a queen came from? Does that date back, you think, to the 40s or something when it started?
Whenever they decided they needed to start crowning royalty.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember the big pep rally at the gym, homecoming weekend. You would introduce who the
royalty,
the underclassmen were.
Yeah.
And then who the secondary and then the king and queen.
Yeah.
And walking through, and we being in the band, you and I, separate times, but in the band, doing band pep rally thing, lots of fight song, lots of
whatever was popular at the
trendy
time.
whatever, and it all happened within the gymnasium.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the dance was going to be held.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what? Now that we're talking, memories are coming back. Adam was on the homecoming council his sophomore year before we moved to Arizona. I can like picture him, his haircut, and his shirt that he was wearing and stuff like that. You know how they did the casual pictures. So the girl that he was dating at the time, they were sophomore. And I am 99.9% sure. And again, if anybody listens to this back in Fremont, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think our homecoming king and queen are still married together. I think it was Steve Sloma and Denise Shimanowski. And I know they're married, and I think they were king and queen my senior year. So
Wow.
now that I've spoken those words, I'll need to go back to our class and go, am I right, or did I just lie to the world?
Right. And in preparation for this, because one of our other listeners' friends, Shelly, had mentioned, she goes, yeah, I think I have the yearbook. And Eric was doing something with homecoming. And honestly, I don't remember going to any of the homecoming dances.
Yeah.
For us, by the time I was a senior, and I think it was something they added that you didn't have or didn't participate in, they had added, in addition to the homecoming dance, they added an Ohio State, Michigan dance.
Oh, that's funny.
And then there was, of course, the rivalry week. We were still part of the Buckeye Conference. The big rival was Sandusky. And leading up to the Sandusky football game, trying to redirect some of that energy. My senior year, I was part of the Social Studies Club. We had gotten a casket through Karlovitz Mortuary. And I was the guy who was laying in the casket. I know there were pictures of that. Almost everybody who was bringing somebody in was carrying me in the casket. And of course, that was the funny thing. I was, even then, the biggest person is like, what the heck were we thinking? Putting Seemann in the casket.
Was it a real casket?
It was. I mean, it wasn't a big, heavy one, but it was one that was designed for like transporting until final internment. And it was used, as I recall.
Oh, which is
so. I was there wherever the
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. You know what, saying that about Sandusky, I remember something that I always laughed about when I was living back in Ohio. You were already in Texas, but before we moved back to Tucson, Jeff Opel taught at Sandusky his whole career. And I always thought, what would it have been like for this Lindsey Fremont kid, who had done all the sports and done everything. And then all
Yeah,
of a
he held
sudden,
the track records for
yeah,
years.
his whole career was and the rest of the family, so many of that family is around, and those kids have gone to school in Fremont, and Andrea works in schools. Anyway, yeah, just here in Sandusky and thinking about there were outhouses, people tipped over outhouses. Like, I just, funny to think about. Now, in college, have you ever gone back to Michigan State for a
Not
homecoming?
during homecoming.
Okay.
Yes, I have. Not during homecoming. Last time has already been close to 20 years since I was
And
back. But Michigan State has an entire week that leads up to homecoming. There's athletes who come in, the guys who played in any kind of sport by the time you get to the college level who've made it to the pros are coming back and hanging out in town. There's a parade at Michigan State down Grand River Avenue through downtown. Every one of the fraternities and sororities and social groups have floats and parades, and you get back together and they bring alumni in. For me, that would have been Army ROTC, the Spartan Battalion.
I was going to ask you
playing
about
and
that.
performing, generally presenting the colors. It's either them or the Air Force ROTC
Cool.
up there who are involved and engaged in that. And of course, notable Grand Marshal.
Graduates?
Yeah. Magic Johnson has done a parade or two and a pop by. More recent, Draymond Green. Draymond Green plays for Sacramento and has like 3 NBA rings, and he comes back and hangs out. It's interesting. It's fun. I like to see pictures. And
so tailgating is huge here. And I was thinking one of my Up With People friends, an alumni, was in the band, and his kids are here at school. And he doesn't play in the band anymore, but there's always pictures of the alumni band and the people that are playing. And I look at that when I see who goes back to Ross, and who plays. And you and I mentioned Dave Scheimer's dad. Was it Dale that played tuba that played for years and years and years? So a shout out to the Scheimers. I'll tell Dave that.
Well, you've got that, and I think I'll call out somebody else because Mark Finnegan, played in the marching band, best damn band in the land down at Ohio State.
Man, he is big on that. I've been watching his Facebook.
Trumpet.
Yeah.
So I got to think he somehow is involved and still being up there in that part of the world too helps to make it back to a game or two.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then the dance. And when we talked about dancing, you started talking about what people were wearing. And I just pointed out the fact, in the world of social media, number one is the groups that get together now. I mean, I remember dances kind of be maybe you and one other couple.
Yeah, you'd go out to dinner or something before. Yeah.
But now you see these group photos where there's 10 couples, and I don't know if they've got a limo sitting off to the side or everybody's jumping in their cars, but it has, as I've turned into more and more of an old man.
Yeah.
I look at some of these dresses that the girls are wearing, and it's like, oh my gosh. I don't know how short is short, but those things, I think I said the other day when I looked at it, it's like if there's a half-mile-an-hour breeze, they better watch it because.
Well, and I did tell you that one of my friends who has a teenage daughter said that hers had shorts underneath. And then I thought about us in mini skirts at the junior high, and I don't know. But I'm going to guess that we were still wearing long dresses for the most part to all the dances except the Sadie Hawkins, right?
And with what you were wearing at the time, style, fashion-wise, would you not have had like knee-high socks exposing your knees? And then even if you had a skirt that was above the knees, kind of.
Oh, I was still wearing knee-high socks when I joined Up With People, and nobody thought it was a good trend. So yeah, but the dress that I do remember was a brand called Gunny Sacks, and it was kind of a and you can still go buy, Gunny. What are you laughing at? It was very gauze and beigey and hippie gypsy. 1970s. I loved that dress.
It's just the name. It's like, that's just made me flash back. There was a picture of Marilyn Monroe where she modeled a potato sack because someone made the comment, and it's like, yeah, you're darn right. It can make a potato sack look good.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't, I'm going to look it up now. I'm going to see how you spell it, all those things, But I have a couple of friends here who they're repurposing clothing and they're purposely going through estates and reselling things. And I have to tell you that when I just went to Texas for my Up With People thing, 3 pieces of clothing that I took were things that my friend found for me that she thought I would like that are all that style and date from that time frame. So, whatever it is that we liked, we still kind of like, I told her, I go, it's weird that we are who we are at some level.
But you still listen to the music. You can listen to music or a song at that point that takes you right back to where you were at, what you were doing. That's the ability for music to transport you.
Yeah.
And that's why we all listen to an older song and it's like, oh yeah, I remember when that came out.
Yeah.
And then there's other songs where it's like, oh my gosh, I remember when that came out. I got so sick and tired of it that summer.
I want to go, but you said something a little bit ago about the groups that go. And I think groups kind of always went. Sometimes there was like an after party, or sometimes a bunch of people met at somebody's house and then went to a restaurant. But I also think that what I have seen is an increase in the number of friends that will go alone, whether they have a date or not. You might get 4 or 5 girls, or 4 or 5 girls and 2 guys, or whatever, and they just go as friends, which I think is really
friends
nice.
That hang out, yes, that's much less stigmatized.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have been one of the losers at the dance alone, right? Come on, 70s and 80s, would that not have been? It's like, what did you bother to come for, Seemann?
Probably. Oh my gosh, that's true.
Admit it.
And interestingly, so always in the fall of the year, seemingly super close to when school has started. Now schools start more in August, and then they did in September, like they did in September when we were younger. But early in the year, always around football season, right? They're always it's on the calendar, it's chosen in advance, and everybody knows. And for me, it's interesting here because of school starting in like the second week of August or whatever it is, that homecoming, I mean, it's already happened when I was in, town in September, right? To see where you were in Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking about it. We had talked about the fact that there was always alumni band.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that alumni band necessarily ran in conjunction with homecoming. Homecoming came a few weeks later. For whatever reason, I felt like we always did homecoming band out of sync to homecoming, because there was other homecoming activities going on, that doing the alumni band performance.
Yeah.
At that time, when you've got kings and queens and all the other stuff that goes on in a football game now, that.
Yeah, maybe not. I know enough people back in Fremont that I can surely ask. Say what's the plan of attack and what
happens nowadays, since we
clearly
have no clue. And your youngest now on Internet Movie Database, let's point that out.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. He was so excited.
First role, that's cool. I had to point it out to my mother-in-law, that the app that I use every time we're watching movies together, and it's like, man, I know that from some others, and I keep looking it up.
You go to IMDb. Yeah.
And now he's there with his own official profile.
Yeah.
Caleb Reed, known for swimming with the fishes, right?
No. He's super excited. He said that he got invited to the opening of another one. And that was the one where he went. He spent all day, and then they didn't use him at all. And so he said it was funny to get invited. But a couple of other people that he knows from Denver, they went and saw the premiere of it. And that was like a year ago already. That was one of the ones where you weren't allowed to talk to the star in their own trailer or when they came out, no matter what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
So it was cool that in this one he got to interact with the lead in the show, who, as a Ted Lasso fan, I was super excited about that. So, yeah.
Which is on the next future playlist for us. We got to catch up on Ted Lasso.
You do. All right, brother.
From a positive motivation and mindset too. It's not just.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. So what else? Anything else?
So did you ever experience fear of missing out, FOMO?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. As a girl, I think of high school. I loved high school. I could go back and do it again. I was taller, bigger, whatever than half the girls in the school. I didn't have a boyfriend, So yes, at some level, but I had so much fun in high school that, between band and student council and whatever, that it isn't like it's burnt into my mind that I never got it.
I did not do the whole student council thing. That's news to me. That'll have to be another episode sometime. Donna's adventures in student council, and we'll start with story hour, which we still have never explained, going back to episode 2.
I'm not good at remembering previous chapters and episodes.
What the heck is a story hour?
You have to remind me. Next year when I speak about the book in Lindsey, I'm literally choosing certain words based on what I wrote about Lindsey. Yeah.
And that will be at what? The Lindsey.
Yeah.
Sunflower Festival and Homecoming.
Yep. July 26th, 2024.
Right? It's the last Saturday of July.
Yep.
Kind of
That's
third
what they're
year in a
looking
row
to.
is the time we're doing that.
Yeah.
And if everything syncs up, we're all going to do it, right?
I hope so. I'm gonna
because we want to talk to people in podcasts while we're there.
We do. We need
just going to toss that out there too.
Yeah. So many things. We got to get the buy-in. We got to get the buy-in.
Moms and dresses and dances and musics and kings and queens and
all that stuff.
Wow. And I just said that, and having just recently watched a thing about Judy Garland and filming of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The whole If I Were King of the Folk.
You going to sing that now? No.
No. I'm not changing the words to that one. I've got other stuff that I'm working on lyrics for.
Oh, Lordy. All righty, Eric, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think so. And that's your job.
Yeah,
because I opened this one up.
As we close this episode, we want to thank you for listening and joining us in this real stroll down memory lane, which we may or may not have remembered very well. We spent a little bit of time reflecting on growing up in Lindsey, Ohio, and a little bit of time about junior high and high school in Fremont, Ohio. We didn't talk a whole lot about our houses today, did we? But we talked about the schools and our memories, which does bring us our lifestyle conversation. Please keep in mind that our goal here is to communicate, educate, entertain, and connect with you. If you're in Arizona, I'm in the Tucson area. And if you're in South Central Texas near San Antonio, Eric and I are both realtors. He's like showing the football while I do this. Eric and I are both realtors with Keller Williams, and we're here to help you find the perfect property where you can call and find home for you and maybe go to homecoming or have your kids go to homecoming.
Go to homecoming.
Create lasting memories. We always say create lasting memories, and then I can't remember things. So if you're across the United States or you're somewhere around the world, we're part of an extensive network of professionals, and we would be happy to connect you with an amazing realtor somewhere else. So remember, it may be simple, but it ain't always easy. And until next time, I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And we are
Real Siblings.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah.
I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Sibling. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.